Hey baby, so this is your birthday present. I'm going to read you a passage of scripture for your birthday. Happy birthday. Today at our church group, we read from the 4th chapter of John, Jesus talking to the Samaritan woman at the well. And a lot of times in sermons that include the Good Samaritan parable or the Samaritan woman at the well, preacher will talk about the cultural context of how the Jews felt about the Samaritans. But what doesn't happen very often is that they don't go back to the part of the Bible that actually says where the Samaritans came from and is pretty self-explanatory as to why the Jews hated the Samaritans. So that's what I'm going to do for you right now. Samaritan time. Here we go. 2 Kings 17, 24 to 41 in the NIV. This takes place in the 8th century BC. And it takes place, I'm going to start a verse earlier. I'm going to go verse 23. I'm going to go verse 21, actually. When he tore Israel away from the house of David, they made Jeroboam, son of Nebat, their king. Jeroboam enticed Israel away from following the Lord and caused them to commit a great sin. The Israelites persisted in all the sins of Jeroboam and did not turn away from them until the Lord removed them from his presence, as he had warned through all of his servants the prophets. So the people of Israel were taken away from their homeland into exile in Assyria, and they're still there at the time it was written. The king of Assyria brought people from Babylon, Cutha, Ava, Hamath, and Sepharvaim, and settled them in the towns of Samaria to replace the Israelites. They took over Samaria and lived in its towns. When they first lived there, they did not worship the Lord, so he sent lions among them, and they killed some of the people. It was reported to the king of Assyria, "The people you deported and resettled in the towns of Samaria do not know what the God of that country requires. He has sent lions among them, which are killing them off, because the people do not know what he requires." Then the king of Assyria gave this order: Have one of the priests you took captive from Samaria go back and live there, and teach the people what the God of the land requires. So one of the priests who had been exiled from Samaria came to live in Bethel and taught them how to worship the Lord. Nevertheless, each national group made its own gods in the several towns where they settled, and set them up in the shrines the people of Samaria had made at the high places. The people from Babylon made Succoth-Benoth. Those from Cutha made Nergal. Those from Hamath made Ashima. The Avites made Nibhaz and Tartak. And the Sepharvaites burned their children in the fire as sacrifices to Adramelech and Anamelech, the gods of Sepharvaim. They worshipped the Lord, but they also appointed all sorts of their own people to officiate for them as priests in the shrines at the high places. They worshipped the Lord, but they also served their own gods in accordance with the customs of the nations from which they had been brought. To this day they persist in their former practices. They neither worship the Lord nor adhere to the decrees and regulations and laws and commands that the Lord gave the descendants of Jacob, whom he named Israel. When the Lord made a covenant with the Israelites, he commanded them, "Do not worship any other gods or bow down to them, serve them or sacrifice to them. But the Lord who brought you up out of Egypt with mighty power and outstretched arm is the one you must worship. To him you shall bow down, and to him offer sacrifices. You must always be careful to keep his decrees and the regulations, the laws, and commands he wrote for you. Do not worship other gods. Do not forget the covenant I have made with you, and do not worship other gods. Rather, worship the Lord your God. It is He who will deliver you from the hand of all of your enemies." They would not listen, however, but persisted in their former practices. Even while these people were worshiping the Lord, they were serving their idols. To this day, their children and grandchildren continue to do so as their ancestors did. And that is where the Samaritans came from. Happy birthday, baby. Do not worship any other gods or bow down to them. Serve the Lord and sacrifice. Do not worship. Take two. Kachak.